Hi, I'm Kimberly Van Hooser. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, the owner of a Christian private practice in Colorado, and a business coach for mental health professionals. Thank you so much for joining me on the Prosperous Christian Therapist podcast. I'm going to take just a moment here and share with you about a special limited time coaching session that I'm offering right now called Optimize Your Practice. This is for anyone who is planning to launch their private practice in the near future and you want to do it the right way, or for anyone who already has a practice but you want to level it up or to make sure that you're operating in the best way possible. Optimize Your Practice is a 60-minute special structured coaching session during which I walk you through the 6 different pillars that constitute a healthy private practice. We'll talk about your mindset, your vision for your private practice, your client focus and niche, marketing, networking, finances, all the good things that lead into running the private practice of your dreams. You'll leave the session with more clarity about what you want your practice to look like, more confidence in what you're doing right, and actionable steps to take in order to move your practice forward. For a limited time, the 60-minute one on one Optimize Your Practice session is only $97. I will be significantly increasing my rates in 2026. So if this is something that you have been considering, the time is now. Even if you haven't really fully committed to launching your private practice in the next couple of months, think about how much time you could save through a planning session like this with me. This is a very low cost and low risk investment in your private practice. I truly wish that when I had first begun my private practice that I had someone that I could go to who would walk me through these different areas and to help me clarify what my vision was and what steps I needed to take forward. This is why I created the special coaching offer is because I want to be able to give back what I have learned to take from my experience and my knowledge of how to run a successful private practice and pass that on to other clinicians who are wanting to do the same thing. If you take away just one thing from this coaching session with me and it helps you to book a client in your private practice, you've essentially made more than your money back. If this is something that's resonating with you, go ahead and book a session with me using my Calendly link in the description below. You can also email me at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com if you have any questions. I would love to be able to support you in your private practice journey however I can. Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode. All right. Well, welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. And today I have a very special guest with me. One of the major questions I get from a lot of my listeners is how to have enough referrals and to continue getting enough clients so they have a sustainable practice. And one thing that I teach is to establish real connections and real relationships with other professional colleagues. So today I have Lisa Popp with me. We got connected when I made a post in a Facebook group looking for other Christian business owners in my area. And Lisa was kind enough to respond and agree to get coffee with me. So I'm going to have her on just to share a little bit about what she does, why we might be a good partnership, and we'll go from there. So Lisa, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's really nice to have a chance to chat with you and connect with other mental health providers and others that support women and families. It's really such an important field. And so I'm honored to be included in what you're offering.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My business is called Birthsong. I am a Christian birth doula and childbirth educator in the Denver area. What I offer is in-person birth support with prenatal visits, postpartum visits. What I strive to do is help families to feel prepared and confident heading into labor and birth, which can oftentimes be a very stressful, uncertain, kind of a fear of the unknown kind of thing. So it's really wonderful to be able to kind of step into that space, help moms and dads that maybe have never done this before or have and haven't had a great experience to really feel like this is going to either be different or that they're excited about it. And a lot of why I'm able to do that is really with the Lord's help. So much of what I do is really pouring into them and allowing kind of God to work through me. And it's a really huge blessing to be able to do that.
That's great. And that was one of my questions on here too, is how does your faith play a role in the work that you do? So can you share just a little bit about that?
Yeah, honestly, it plays the biggest role in what I do. I started advertising myself as a Christian doula about 4 years ago here in Denver, and I was very uncertain about doing that. I was worried, am I going to cut off a large portion of my client base? Are people going to be upset by what it is that I'm offering? And I did a lot of prayer over it and really asked the Lord, if this is what I'm meant to do, please like give me peace about it. And so when I felt like, yes, this is absolutely what I need to do, I went ahead and just branded myself that way. And the Lord has been so good to me. He just kind of threw open the doors. I've worked with so many families of faith. I've been able to network with Christian and Catholic providers in the area. And so really what it comes down to is like I'm letting the Lord lead my business. I trust him when it comes to, how many clients that I get interviews with, how many clients choose to work with me. When I need a break, he gives me a break. It's kind of a beautiful thing. My husband feels a little bit less like awesome about the unpredictability of it, but I trust so much. It's not to say that he doesn't trust, but like he's very logical and practical and he likes to know, what our finances are going to look like for the next month. But I trust the Lord so much to know like this is a month that's going to be busy. This is a month that's going to be more relaxed. And usually there's a reason for that, even if I don't know what it is. Foundationally, my business is really, I surrender that to the Lord. And that's so much of what I do with my clients as well.
That's so good. And I love like how you said you're letting the Lord lead your business. And I think that applies for those of you who are listening and whether or not you're marketing yourself strictly as a Christian therapist, or if you're working with the secular field, you can still be leaning into the Lord's leading for what is he wanting you to do, even inviting him into your marketing plans and things like that. So I love that you have that perspective as well, Lisa,
Yeah.
and just the trusting him with the unpredictability. Sometimes that comes from running your own business. And you actually raised a good point because when I started my private practice, I was single. And
Mhm.
so I had to deal with my own fear and insecurity of, oh no, am I going to get enough to pay my bills this month? But there wasn't another person factored into that. But I think it kind of plays another role when you have a partner. Obviously, you have your husband, and you have to be respecting his wishes and desires as well too, making sure he's feeling on board with what you're doing. So, can you speak just briefly to that too? What it's like to navigate your own business as a married
Yeah.
woman?
Yeah, it definitely plays a huge role in what I can and can't do. We do have 5 children of our own, and so much of my ability to do this work relies on childcare and my husband's willingness or ability to kind of fill in the gaps where I might be gone for a day or two at a time. And so he has to be okay with my client load. I have to talk to him ahead of time so, I've got this client that is interested in working with me. This is the due date. We already have a couple clients due around then. Like, how do you feel about me taking on another one? And he will give his feedback. Usually it's go ahead. It feels like, you can handle this. We can handle it. We'll make it work. He's been very, very supportive of this work that I do. And I couldn't do it without him being on board. And so I'm really grateful for having a spouse that really allows me to just kind of go where the Lord is leading me and support the families that I do because it's such a fulfilling thing and he sees that it is something that fills my cup that helps me to feel like I am contributing financially to the family and also just to my own soul purpose here on earth and having a husband that sees that and sees me and trusts that I can kind of guide this in a way is really such a blessing.
And I think I've heard two sides of it when I've worked with my coaching clients. Some are like, well, it'd be so much easier if I had a spouse because then I have stable income to rely on or additional income to rely on. And then the married ones were like, well, my spouse is a little bit nervous about me launching my private practice. So I
Yeah.
think like there's pros and cons to like being single and building your practice and being in a marriage and building a business as well too. And I think if God has put private practice on someone's heart, like he doesn't want you to to dishonor or disrespect your spouse in launching that business. So for any of my listeners, if you're kind of concerned, like, well, my husband's not on board with this, just stay in prayer and listen to God's
Yeah.
leading with that, because your husband will get on board with it if this is something God's truly calling you in. We're not here to like break up any marriages because you're starting your own business here. So thank you for sharing the married ladies' insight into that. So, in terms of networking, I like to build authentic relationships with other professionals because I've found that to be a really great source for long-lasting referral sources. I know a lot of times people get very focused on the website presence or online presence because they just want to post on a directory and have all their clients find them, which can be a great area. I think we need to have a strong website presence or online presence, but having like real authentic connections with other professionals can actually lead to stronger referrals. So that's why I was initially making this post in a Facebook group. I was looking for other people who might be in alignment or support of Christian therapy. And Lisa was kind enough to respond. But Lisa, what prompted you to respond to my Facebook post offering to connect?
I think that a big part of it is I have also been trying very hard to network. It really is such a an important part of the work that I do. Um, Having a referral list for my clients is one of my highest priorities. I love helping my clients to be well resourced. And so, in particular, maternal mental health is so important. And having a mental health provider that aligns with your faith is honestly the most important detail in my mind, because if you've got someone that you can share your struggles and your difficulties and your strengths and weaknesses with, that also shares your faith, you can be fully yourself. You can trust that the person you're speaking with is going to help lead you back to the Lord, and it's not going to be a situation where you're relying on your own understanding. And so when I saw your post, it was very exciting to me because networking with maternal mental health providers that are also women of faith is huge. And it's always so nice to be able to be like, yes, I have vetted this person and they are great. And I can trust them to give you the support that you're going to need throughout this time that you might need that mental health support. I get really excited as the opportunity to connect with another provider, another woman of faith, another resource for my clients and also for myself, because being in community with other Christians so important just for my own mental health and being in community. I see networking as an opportunity to kind of help create that village for myself and for my clients.
Well, and to speak to that, it can feel super isolating when we're in our own business in a way. Like, okay, I am basically the sole provider. Maybe even if you have a team, just running your own business can be very lonely. So I think it's so essential and imperative to have other people that you can connect with, not just from the work we do from a professional standpoint, but personally. And it was so fun when I met you for coffee, because I'll try sometimes like, okay, we'll get coffee with all these different people. And sometimes you have this like heart to heart, and then sometimes it falls a little bit flat. But with you, I'm like, we have so many shared values and
Yeah.
passions. And so that was really exciting and fun too. But I know a lot of people, they're hesitant to know how to get started with networking. And especially if they're wanting to market as a Christian therapist, there's a lot of fear of, will I get rejected? Will there be this backlash from society, because sometimes it seems like Christians are very unpopular. I have actually found the opposite when I've taken those bold steps. I'm like, I'm just going to let it be known that I am a Christian therapist. I find so many other believers are like, hey, I'm here too. So it's so encouraging for
Yeah.
me to see that as well too. So for those of you who are listening, don't be afraid to take those steps and reach out and just share who you are and who you're looking for. The group that I posted in was not a Christian group, but I had so many people respond and say, hey, I'm a Christian business owner here. I would love to connect. So Lisa, as you were
Absolutely.
sharing, like, I want to send my clients to people that I know will get good care. And I'm the same way. I'm very protective over my clients. So I want to be able to give them strong referrals where it's someone where it's like, I personally can say I trust this person and the work that they do. And
Yeah.
that's why having those personal, authentic connections with professionals in the area is a stronger referral source a lot of times than just having a website or your Psychology Today directory. Because if you think about it, if I were to look up some therapist and I find them on an online directory, I'm like, okay, cool. But I don't have a personal recommendation to see them. I'm less likely to go to them than if my birth doula was like, Kimberly, here's a great therapist who will do amazing work with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I also feel like it does some of the work for you. And
Mm,
in the particular case of the clients I work with, they're already information overload, and having
yeah.
to vet and find their own providers for every different thing can be so overwhelming. And so that's a lot of the reason I do what I do as far as
Yeah.
networking. I don't want them to have to, bang their head against the wall trying to find someone that they can trust, or make 8 phone calls to get one good provider for something.
Yeah.
They don't have time for that. And I
Right.
know that from personal experience with 5 kids. Like when we moved to Colorado, I had to start completely from scratch in finding my own care, my own providers, my own everything. And it was incredibly overwhelming. I was 35 weeks pregnant when I got here. And so
Wow.
I had to start immediately in finding everything I needed. And it was so hard. And I remember crying over trying to find like a mental health provider, because
Mm,
everyone I talked to, it didn't feel like the right fit. And
yeah.
so that's why I do the networking for my clients, because
Yeah.
I know how vulnerable and exhausting that time can be.
Yeah, well, and you spend a lot of time, I'm guessing, with your clients over throughout the course of their pregnancy, depending on how they choose to work with you. So you get to
Yeah.
know them on a
Yes.
different level as
Yes.
well too, and they probably get to know and trust you as well. So they're going to trust whoever you do refer, say, hey, this is a great person to go see. They probably trust that quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think the other thing I want to point out too, when you're building these professional connections, is we see it as like it's a give and take. It's not just like, I'm just going to show up and let Lisa refer all of her clients to me. I'm never even going to consider her. But no, I'm keeping her in mind. And I'm also sharing, like, I think it was just the other day, someone in the Facebook group was like, hey, I'm looking for a doula or midwife. And I shared Lisa's information. So
Thank you.
having this idea, it's a reciprocal relationship. And I'm happy to do that because I trust her. I think she's going to do awesome work. But then whenever I've had people refer to me in the past, it makes me want to even refer to them because I want to return the favor. So that is
Yeah.
a good tip for those of you listening. Make sure that you're looking at it as not just what can this person do for me, but building those reciprocal relationships as well. And maternal mental health, that's actually a really good niche for a lot of therapists. It might be a good idea to connect with other midwives or doulas in the area. You're not a midwife, you're a doula. I forget the difference. Can you share the
Yes,
difference about
I
that?
am a doula. I am a doula. I am not a midwife. So the nuts and bolts difference, midwives are medical, doulas are not. I do not have any medical background, certifications, professional, anything, licensing, none of that. What I do is informational, educational, physical, and emotional support during pregnancy, labor, birth, and postpartum. What midwives or OBs do, whether they're in the hospital setting or at home, is provide the medical safety, observation, monitoring, et cetera, for yourself and your baby. It's a very important distinction. If you're looking for medical care, even if it's in the home birth setting, you want a midwife or an OB. And if you want to have additional support physically, emotionally, informationally, educationally, all of that stuff, that is more of the doula's purview. And you can absolutely have an OB or a midwife and a doula. And I highly encourage anyone who's thinking about maybe getting a doula to go ahead and interview a few. It really is such a personal thing, but having someone that's there for you through the whole experience, whereas your provider may be in and out, it can be really, really supportive.
That's a good distinction for me to know who do I refer to
Yeah.
Lisa. So if they're looking for a midwife, she's not the person. Doula, I think it was a doula that they were looking for. Hopefully, I sent you a good referral. Okay, thank you for clarifying with that. So, do you work with people virtually or in other states, or are you primarily in Colorado?
As far as in-person support right now, I only support families in the Denver and surrounding areas. That being said, I do have virtual consultations. I'm happy to do Zoom or FaceTime and do these consultations with anyone anywhere in the world. Basically, offering suggestions, ideas for birth plans, putting together a baby registry, helping you to feel prepared for your birth. If you don't want to have a doula at your birth, sometimes it's helpful just to have that prenatal preparation. My favorite consultation offering is basically just ask me anything. Just use me as a resource. Whatever you want to know about, I will either be able to respond to or look it up and find you answers. Just to be very clear, I don't offer medical advice. As we said before, the difference between the midwife and the doula, I cannot offer medical advice. What I can do is get you pros and cons, risks and benefits, all of the background information on basically anything pregnancy, birth related, postpartum, baby related, so that you can make the most educated decision for yourself. These consultations that I offer, they help give you that confidence in your own knowledge base and your own awareness of what they're offering you, what they're suggesting that you do for yourself or your baby.
So I also wanted to just touch base with you a little bit because I think one thing that got me so excited about meeting you was just realizing how our hearts for building strong, healthy, godly families and supporting Christian families were in alignment. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and what I do primarily is usually individual work with clients. But when I got my license, it was very popular just to get the marriage and family therapist license. Nowadays, it's much more popular to be like a licensed professional counselor. And that doesn't come with the same idea or expectation like, oh, Kimberly just does marriage and family work. Because I'm like, that's not what I do. I do primarily individual work. But I was actually felt like the Lord was telling me, like, it's not a mistake, Kimberly, that you're an MFT. Like marriage and family is something that you're called, even if it's an individual work, but there's a calling on my life to help strengthen Christian marriages and Christian families. And we've seen such a huge decline in marriage, in the desire for people to want to get married, and in healthy families, even having children. There's been a huge decrease in people just deciding, like, I don't want to have kids. And so I've been feeling this need to help revive that and bring restoration to families so they feel supported. They can continue to have like kingdom families that are rooted in the Lord. Lisa, I feel like you kind of agree with me on that. So if you want to share a little bit about your heart for families, I'd love to hear that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I love that part of our conversation over coffee. It was so lovely. It really is so important to me, that is at the foundation of the family, is that the Lord is the foundation. As Christians, we go into marriage usually with words of scripture read over us, and in building our marriage on the foundation of Christ crucified. And it's so important to remember that as we head into our lives as parents, that our marriage is built on Christ, that our family is then built on our marriage. And so what I really love to do in the prenatal visits that I do with my clients is to really pour into their marriage and to pour into each individual and remind them of their strengths as men and women, as husband and wife. I work with a lot of dads that are very uncertain, like, how am I going to be able to support my wife through this labor, through parenting? Like, she's going to be feeding this baby. Like, what do I even do? And I love pouring into dads and reminding them, like, you are the head of this household. You are going to be able to pray over your wife. You're going to be able to lean into the Lord for guidance and strength, and pray over him, or pray over her and yourself, and ask him for his support in your role as husband and father. And like pouring into mom and saying, you were made for this. You were designed by our creator to bear children. And though this is not an easy task that we've been given as women, like, you are uniquely positioned to do this work. And the two of you together, if you can lean into each other's strengths and lean into the Lord together, it's going to truly transform your marriage. It's going to truly transform your family. And I see labor and birth as this opportunity, because it really strips you down to your absolute core. Like, this is not easy work that you're doing. And you see one another, sleep deprived, bleary eyed, exhausted, and in pain. And it can be a moment of, wow, this person is really here for me. And like, you'll remember that. Or it can be, oh, I felt so abandoned, and I really believe that even if you don't know what to do, prayer is always an answer. It is always an answer. And so, um, when I have the opportunity to support my families and pour into their marriages, their birth experiences always go differently. They always are more beautiful and more fulfilling, and they lean into each other. And it's really a lovely thing. And I think that that being the springboard for their family life, that trust in each other, that trust in the Lord is going to raise up children in the way they should go. They are going to learn from their parents' example of leaning into the Lord when things get hard. And that's going to come from these moments, even in pregnancy, where things might be difficult, but they still trust the Lord. They still trust each other. And that's going to help grow those kingdom families, like you said, and really create a dynamic where children feel safe, children feel loved, children feel supported, and are able to explore their own faith and grow in their own faith to then go on and have their own families.
That is so good. And I see that too with my own clients when we're able to invite the Lord into the therapeutic process. I see so much more like accelerated breakthrough on their life and so much more fruit from it than the ones who are either not wanting that be a part of it or they're just not as open to it. And
Yeah.
I still believe like the Lord's working in my sessions when the client's not fully actively inviting him in. But yeah, and I love as you're sharing that because I'm thinking like the type of clients that have you as a doula would be the type of clients that want to see me as a therapist, and vice versa. My therapy clients would be someone who'd pick you for their doula. So that's where those having those reciprocal relationships with people who have aligned values with you is really going to help increase your referrals. I'm in contact with a lot of her ideal clients, and vice versa. Thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to have you share that just because I think it's an encouragement to other Christians in the mental health field that are listening. Because, like I said, I've had so many people say, like, am I going to limit my clientele if I'm Christian? Are people going to want me? Am I going to be rejected? Am I even going to get like there's even a fear of like losing their license if they say
Mm,
something wrong as a Christian therapist? Are they going to get attacked for that or have any sort of legal backlash? And I think that's something that's like trusting that if God's calling you into this, he's also going to protect you. And yes, we want to obviously run our practices ethically, but that there are other Christians and believers out there running their own businesses and that people actually want it. I think that's the thing to emphasize. Like there are customers, there are
yes,
clients out there who want and crave and desire it and who will pick us because we are
yeah.
Christians.
Yeah, that has been my experience 100%. It really truly has. Like honestly, it's like he threw open the floodgates. Like the Lord just opened up such a beautiful group of people to come to me. And it's like I was so worried, but honestly, from the moment that I was like, yes, this is who I am, this is whose I am, he just continues to bring me families that are looking for exactly what I offer. And so I have not run into really much of any backlash, and I feel very blessed for that. And I know that that's not true for everyone, but I so encourage mental health providers, since that's who this is mostly geared towards. Please stand strong in your faith because it will invite in the people that really truly need what you have to offer. What you have to offer is so valuable. And in my experience with the work that I do, it has been nothing but a blessing
Mhm.
to invite the Lord into every aspect of what it is that I offer.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think like for the people who are listening, don't not market yourself as a Christian therapist out of fear. I think it's perfectly fine that God needs Christians in the mental health field showing up in the secular realm as well too. And I've done work with secular practices as well, and it's been really powerful work. And I saw myself more as like I'm incognito. I'm like the secret undercover warrior for the Lord. And I would still let him inform my work and bring breakthrough to my clients, even if I wasn't specifically talking about Jesus or faith in session. But for those of you who are like, I feel like God's putting this calling to bring him into the therapy sessions, but I'm scared, just pray about that. And I encourage you just to take a step and see, let your light shine and let other people be encouraged by that. So I appreciate Lisa, so much. You have sharing kind of your own personal experience with that too. And I know for myself, when I get to work with Christian clients who are like, we love God and we want him to be a part of therapy, I light up. I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
because we can partner. Our faith, our shared faith is such a strength in therapeutic relationship. Whereas a lot of times in grad school, they teach you like your faith cannot inform how you work as a therapist. You need to keep that separately and not project faith on your clients. But we weren't taught how do we utilize shared faith as a tool to bring about breakthrough. So that's
yeah.
also, I think, a thing if you're thinking about marketing as a Christian therapist, if it lights you up to be able to talk about that with your clients, that might be something God's calling you into. Well, Lisa, tell me how I can support you, how our listeners can support you. Obviously, I will share this on my social media platform so people know about your business and can reach out if they're looking for a doula or something like that. But how can we support you?
Honestly, just sending people my way. If you are working with couples that are expecting, if you are working with couples that are even trying to conceive, I am trying to expand what I'm offering into fertility as well because it's such a vulnerable time as well. It's really tough, especially if you're struggling with infertility, and that I'm in the process of doing additional trainings and certifications for that. If you want to check out my socials, I have an Instagram. It's Birthsong Colorado, and my Facebook is also Birthsong Colorado, and my website is birthsongcolorado.com. It's all just kind of right there. If you've got clients or patients that you work with that are looking childbirth education, birth doula support, or even consultations if you're not in the Denver, Colorado area. I'm happy to chat with anyone that is looking for support or even help folks that are out of state find Christian doulas in their community. Honestly, networking is one of my favorite things. I love connecting people
Oh,
to each other, and sometimes you really never know how you're going to be able to help someone until you get into conversation with them. And so anybody that's looking for a doula, I'm happy to help you either find someone near where you are or chat about what I offer.
yeah. And I also, just as you were talking, like sometimes we have this idea for the therapists who are listening where we're like, oh, doula, okay, so postpartum, we have the very like
Yeah.
boxed in idea of what type of issues she might come into contact with. But she mentioned fertility struggles, and it could just be people who are like, hey, we want to have a baby. There's a lot of stress that comes into thinking about starting a family. I even thought about like blended families. Regardless of what you feel like your niche might be, it still can be really beneficial to reach out to a professional that might work with a different niche than you, but also probably has some overlap as well. Yeah, well, it's been so nice to connect with you again. I'm excited to stay connected in the future. And I really, really appreciate you just taking the time to show up and to record with me and to share with our listeners. Anything else you would like to say to our audience of Christian mental health professionals?
Oh, goodness. I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been so much fun. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to kind of share my heart for this work and connect with, a whole new group of potential people to network with and potential clients. And it's just been lovely chatting with you. It's always fun to hear your heart for the work that you do and your heart for networking as well. I think it's such a valuable tool, and I look forward to chatting with you more in the future.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I leave your contact information in the show description. So if you're wanting to check out Lisa's social medias, get connected, you'll be able to find that information below. But thank you all so much for listening, and I look forward to having you join me for the next episode. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.